Do this if you hate your job. I repeat, if you truly hate your job, do this. And guess what? Thank me later. In less than 7 months, you'll thank me later. Let's get on the business, okay? And by the way, in case you're watching me for the first time, this is Good Joseph, and I upload these kind of videos each and every day, so you'll never ever miss a piece to watch. Go ahead and subscribe. Make sure that you like this video, and on the comment section, leave your comment. If it's a question, I'll be able to attend it. Let's get on the business now. Here we are. If you hate your job, all right, if you hate your job, this is what I want you to do, all right? So, well, of course, most of the people hate their job. By the statistics are saying over 85% of people who are employed, they hate their jobs. Now, what do? Now that you hate your job, you stand a very better chance of doing what? Finding a way of quitting it. Now you can justify the reason why you want to quit it. Why? You hate it. For God's sake, if you hate it, then you have to find a way of getting out of it. And that is why I'm here to show you. Now, this is what you do. First thing, the first thing that you're supposed to do, first thing, okay? Create what we call a hate fund. Create a hate fund, quote unquote. Why? You know why? When I say you create a hate fund, you hate your job. Then you have to create a fund to make sure that you get yourself out of that emotion. Because, of course, when you say you hate, that's an emotion. So when you create that hate fund, it's a money that you set aside. First of all, before I even tell you what is a hate fund, let's dissect the word hate. Why do you hate your job, but you still go there every day? You hate it, meaning that if you had an option, you could have not gone there, isn't it? But you're still going there, yet you hate it. Why do you hate it and you go there? Because you have to sustain yourself. You have to eat, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your bills, you have to, all those things. What if you had an alternative of sustaining yourself on that manner? Would you have actually shown up to that particular job? Hell no. I know that is the answer. So now what we are doing, we are creating a fund, then we are timing it a hate fund, is to get yourself out of that cocoon that you are in. I had a client who was telling me, Joseph, if I only had money that can sustain me and my family for the next 3 months, I would never show up to that job. In that period of 3 months, I will be looking for a new gig to do. Now, this is what I want you to do. That hate fund, that money that I want you to set aside, I want you to set aside that money in a very bitter way. You see, to the extent you hate that job, and I want you to save with that extension. And this is how it goes. The hate fund, from the face, it is a hate fund. But at the back of that hate fund, it is called the freedom fund. Are we together? Another side of this is called the freedom fund. And where can you get the freedom fund? Freedom fund is the money that you know it is there and it can sustain yourself. Let's call it an emergency fund, in other words. So I want you to create a hate fund, which in other words is the freedom fund. It's the money to get yourself out of that situation of hating something, but yet you still go there. So now you commit yourself in understanding your inflow. Understand your inflow. I didn't say your in-laws. I said inflow. The money that comes into your pocket, and of course understand your outflow. Are we together? Because you can be earning, say, 20K, and then your outflow is 20K, you are left with zero. The money that you're making is not the problem. It is the expenses that you are having here. It is the expenses you are having here. You're having expenses that are consuming all your cash. But then if you can actually, because you're now operating under hatred of your job, how about if you have an inflow of 20K and then the expenses here, they consume 15K for instance, and then the outflow here is 5K. Then you have an extra 5K. Then if you have an extra 5K, channel that money towards the freedom fund, or you can call it hate fund. And then you keep on pumping that money there. And then the target I would like you to achieve is at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Now, when you have money set aside, let's say in a month you consume 20K. I'm just throwing random numbers. Let's say in a month you consume 20K. And you have, say, 60K somewhere to be consumed. It means this next month you are good to go, the other month you are good to go, and the other month you are good to go. Therefore, you are starting having what we call the freedom that if you were to quit your job today, then it means at least for the next 3 months, I can eat and pay all my utilities. Now, though you've not grown, but in that period, you can actually look for an alternative. The first thing you do is to create the hate fund, is to set aside some cash. And how do you do this? The Uber things has to go away. All the night out has to go away. All the parties and the road trips and unnecessary spending, the emotional spending, you have to do away. That is the only way you can create a positive expense or a positive cash flow on the other side. That is when you differentiate the inflow and the outflow. That is the step number one. Number two, what you're supposed to do, if indeed you hate your job, is to use your savings wisely and not emotionally. I repeat, you're supposed to use your funds wisely and not emotionally. In most cases, when people hate their job, you know what they do? The moment they get the money, the salary at the end of the month or a week or the day, people be like, that month was very tough. The boss was so tough on me. That was a very, very up and down way a month and what have you. So you get that money, you are bitter, you have the emotions and you're saying, I'm going to give myself thank you. You take yourself out and the next minute, guess what happens now? You get back to the same cycle. So you are not supposed to spend your money emotionally, but you're supposed to do so wisely, with understanding, logically. I told you at all the time, avoid consulting your heart when you're making a money decision. Always consult your brain, because the brain and the heart, they are two antagonist organs when it comes to money. The way heart perceives money as a product to be consumed should make you happy, should keep you well. All those people who talk about YOLO, you only live once, what if I save $1 million and I die, what if I do this, that is your heart talking to you, because the heart responds to your emotions. But the moment you consult your brain, it tells you, hey, you've been employed for 15 years. What have you saved? What do you have? By the way, what you're going to leave for these kids, once you get out of this world, because you will. By the way, you would like to own a home, but do you have any plan for, you think, you feel, consult your thinking. Now, what you do is to consume your money wisely and not what? Emotionally. Now, the moment you do that, that is how now you can start understanding. There's a time I gave you the cycle, the cycle of employment. One day I'm still going to repeat that video. I told you how the 30 years goes in your employment. When you hate your job, when you love your job, the window of hope, and what have you, the next minute, you're doomed. So what happens? That is the problem. So you spend your money wisely and not emotionally. The third thing that is the very vital and important one, and of course the main part of this video, that is the third part, is you plan your exit wisely. Plan and pick. Figure out your exit route. Is it a business or is it a investment? And of course, substantiate why. Are you together? Now, when we say you plan your exit route, plan your exit route. Let's say you've sat down and figured it out and you're like, you know what? My exit route is to start a business. My exit route is to invest. Of course, there is a short-term goal there, or rather, there is the one that you can achieve faster, because let's say, for example, your exit route is the investment. It will take you a little bit of longer period of time, because we said investments, they usually have low risk and they have low returns. And when we talk about the business, we said they have high risks and they have high returns. So if you choose to exit your job through the business, it comes with its own fair share of challenges, and it is a risky affair. Okay, but it can actually get yourself out of the employment as fast compared to an investment. So when we talk about the exit route as a business, you have then to identify a problem to solve in your locality or to the people. And this is why I always encourage people, please don't quit your job to start a business, but rather start your business to quit your job. And that is where now you understand, or rather figure out, what do you know and what do you understand? What can you share with people and people can pay you? What exactly expertise? Where you are employed, how can you be able to sell those services outside there? I don't like to use the term freelancer, but allow me to use so, because due to lack of a better word. How exactly can you exit in that particular way? Some people do decide to exit the business or the employment before they start a business. But I always tell people, please always have a protective layer. That is a foundation layer. That's what we call the emergency fund. And if it is possible, even exceed 6 months. You can even go to even 1 year or 1.2 years. You have yourself money set aside for the expenses. I had a client who was a doctor and he was employed somewhere. He wanted to start his own dispensary. And of course, he was making some cash, around 250,000 in unemployment. And he was getting some side gigs or side clients. And he started some things outside there. The business was making him half of what the job was making him. So he was caught in and was like, you know what? I think that my boss is realizing that I'm doing something on my sideline. Now the question is, should I quit the job and focus on my business? And the first question I asked him, are you ready to cut your expenses by half? Big question, because the job was making half. And of course, probably you can even go further than that, because right now the business needs to be, pampered so that it can be supported, so that it can be able to grow. So it becomes a very tough decision to actually make. So that's why I tell people, as much as you hate your job, don't just wake up and quit it just anyhow. Don't operate on emotions again. I said hate is an emotion. So what happens, you can't think to hate, you feel to hate, isn't it? So what happens is to make sure that you plan yourself an exit plan. If your exit plan, you have decided that it will be a business, then quantify that, what it means. How much is your exit route? Because if you decide to, let's say you are going to a certain city, there are 4 ways to approach that city. A 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you decide to take the route 2. How much will it cost in terms of the fuel if you are actually driving, or maybe in terms of the, fare or ticket or whatever? So you have to quantify how much is your exit plan. You realize that your exit plan will cost you 200,000. Well and good. Then you ask yourself, by when would you wish to exit? By when would you wish to exit? I use the term would wish, because anyway, you can plan and things go the other way around. So would you wish? You say like, okay, in 1 year's time, I would like to exit. Thank you. Then come back to your present day. How much do you make? You make Y amount of money. How much are your expenses, the fixed cost? This amount of money. How much can you leave behind? This amount of money. Will that money left behind be able to achieve your dream within that particular period of time that you've stipulated there of 1 year? No, it cannot. Good. So what do? You cut down all your expenses that you use. To what extent? This, and that. Will that achieve that? Yes, it would. Then you achieve that route. And it's a very, very sacrificial, moment that you need to set aside some cash. So you see, the reason why I see people hate their job, but they are doing nothing. You hate your job, but you don't have a plan. So you keep on hating your job month 1, month 2, year 3, year 10 years, until you retire and you're still hating your job. Oh my goodness. I think my lights just did the thing. I'm gonna finish the video no matter what. The thing is, welcome to Africa. Now, the thing is, you find in such case scenarios, you can actually mess up your life in a big time. So what you're supposed to do at all the time when you want to quit your job, you must first understand your expenses. Number 2, you must also understand things to do with you spending your money wisely. And number 3, you also have to have yourself a plan or an exit plan. In that manner, then you can be able to make a decision that is a substantiated one. And you know what? All that what I've talked about may sound as if you can do so in years and years. No, it doesn't have to be years and years. You can actually figure this one in a period of less than 1 year, and you're good to go. You quit your job and you move to the next level. That is exactly how you go ahead as far as the quitting your job is concerned, or hating your job is concerned. This is Good Joseph. And in case you would like to have a private session with me on figuring it out, this one in a very practical way to a next point, you can always grab that number of mine with confidence, knowing that we'll be able to talk something. Anyway, talking of confidence, exit with power and not panic. People tend to exit something, particularly your job, you exit with panic instead of power. Exit with power and not panic. This is Good Joseph at all the time. Make sure that you hit that like button, make sure that you subscribe, and let's move on. Let's see each other in the next video. See you there.